Hello, welcome to the stream. Let me send out a little message. Hello, welcome to the stream. I missed last week's stream, but we're back. Last week I just kind of got off schedule. My sort of sleep schedule kind of got out of whack this past week. So last week I sort of I woke up a little bit too late to feasibly do the stream. But we're back, and we started at closer to the time that I actually want to do these streams. In fact, it would have been better to even start like an hour before now, but this is fine. So I sent out a message on social media. We can see if we can get some people in the chat as usual. Still sort of riding high off the off of crossing 100,000 subs, and even like you know, I'm already like close to 103,000 subs, so that's really good. The I don't know, the train has not stopped yet, but I probably need to put out another video to ride the momentum, but you know how it goes. What were the most important things in your life last week, last month, and last year that you can share? The most important things? I don't know, I feel like that's a really broad question. It also requires a lot of recall, which I'm bad at, especially on the spot. I feel like as of late, my life has been I guess pretty standard. Like nothing completely out of the ordinary has happened, as far as I know, as far as I can remember at least. So I don't know, like what makes something important? Everything's important. Getting your work done is important. Uh, Making sure you eat well is important. Socializing is important. You went live at the same time as Rogan's podcast, Tough Slot. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people that watch me, um, I don't know. I always go live on Mondays, so people that want to watch me know where they can find me. Like, yeah, I don't really think that there's a competition thing going on there. I think the people that want to watch will watch. What's up, Tara? Any good books you've been reading recently? I actually have recently, because I've sort of been slacking off on reading for a while. And I actually made sort of a resolution recently to get back into the habit of reading consistently. So I haven't really read anything recently, but I think I'm gonna start off where I just like either, well, for one, I want to start going to the library more, but I also want to start off where I start ordering new books and probably order like 1 or 2 books every month. I think the first one I'm gonna order is Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. It's the type of stuff that I read. Like I almost exclusively read nonfiction. I'm not really that into fiction, to be honest. I mean, I don't have anything against it. I'm sure if the book is good, that I'll enjoy it. But it's not specifically what I'm interested in. I like reading nonfiction. I like reading interesting stuff, and I like reading stuff that's gonna make me smarter and help me learn and help me self improve. That's like generally the type of stuff that I read. Yeah, audiobooks are cool. I don't really have a situation in which I can listen to audiobooks though, because I'm not gonna sit at my computer and listen to an audiobook. I mean, maybe I should try it. Um, and I'm rarely anywhere else besides at my computer. But maybe I mean I don't know. Maybe I could just listen to an audiobook while I'm fucking around on Twitter or something. What's up, Gabrielle? Any A Song of Ice and Fire? No, I mean I'm not particularly interested in all that. I'm sure it's fine though. Gotta get that good Audible sponsorship. Yeah. I don't know how to get the Audible sponsorship. I feel like I should. I feel like I should be in a position to have it now. I think that to get the real Audible sponsorship, they just have to contact you, or you have to like work with like a marketing team or something that hooks you up um with that sort of thing. But I don't have all that. Yeah, I remember reading Oliver Sacks like a long time ago. But yeah, I'm probably going to very soon start asking for recommendations. The only problem when it comes to like self-improvement type books is sometimes they are bullshit. So you have to you have to make sure you're not reading like some hokey nonsense. You know, stuff like The Secret and stuff like that. That's like basically nonsense. But the type of stuff that I have most recently been into has been stuff about um like stuff to, you know, like leadership and productivity and entrepreneurship and, you know, motivation, things like that. Not necessarily like self-help. I mean, I guess that kind of qualifies as self-help, but more specific than that, I guess. Yeah, I guess an audiobook might be good to listen to like while cleaning or cooking or something, because I do those things a lot. I don't like, you know, like I don't have a commute, like a daily commute or anything. I don't like drive my car that much, so I feel like that's like the main place where I would listen to an audiobook or something like that. The same reason I don't really listen to podcasts, because I don't really have a situation in which I would like sit there and listen to it. Because when I'm on my computer, I'm like usually my mind is engaged in something, and I can't. It's hard for me to like engage my mind in two different things at once. But during something like cooking and cleaning, which is pretty mindless, that might work. Also, I just like having books. I think most people can probably understand that. Just having the physical book is just, it's cool. Feels good. Feels right. And also, I'm a person that just kind of likes to collect things. But yeah, I need to get back into the reading habit. And I've been getting a little bit better with budgeting my money. So like I'm gonna add like a little book budget, I think, every month. Ever wanted old alien gods mixed with ultra distilled nihilism? I don't even know what you're even talking about. A little book budget, yeah. Probably no more than 2 books a month, unless I find some amazing deals. Any love for Lovecraft, despite is definitely a problem. Racism. Um, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not generally interested in fiction, and and definitely generally not interested in genre fiction. I don't know. I feel like I'm at odds with a lot of my peers on that, but I feel like um, genre fiction genre fiction seems to generally be, and I guess Lovecraft is supposed to be considered like like a pioneer, like a, he's supposed to be like separate from the rest in a way, so maybe this doesn't apply, but genre fiction is all about the setting and the atmosphere, and like, and when I say genre fiction, I mean stuff like just, like a specific genre like fantasy or sci-fi or horror, or even things like western and mystery. But they're always about the setting, and they're always about the the world building, and things like that. But to me, what makes a good story is like the characters and the the plot and and the dialogue and things like that. And I feel like the vast majority of genre fiction that I've experienced tends to sacrifice on that era on that in that area in order to emphasize their setting and their this cool world they've built. So I like generally don't like or don't prefer genre fiction. Uh, Recent new subscriber. I'm slowly working my way through all your past videos. What topics are you looking at covering in the near future? I don't know. As my channel evolves, it's hard for me to even describe what it is at this point. But I just want to talk about just sort of interesting things that I think are worth discussing, and I think that can that has a broad range. I think in the past my videos were just kind of like, I'll come up with a topic and I'm like, hey, that's interesting, or that's interesting to me, but it may not necessarily be something that anyone cares about or that is really worth talking about. So these days I try to think of something that I think is actually worth talking about, that people might actually want to discuss. And for a while that was like only social justice type stuff, but I'm definitely trying to broaden that. So I don't know. I have some ideas. A lot of it is still going to be like politics, I guess, just because that's relevant and it's interesting to me. But as time goes on, I feel less and less equipped to really talk about politics in a very specific way. I usually talk about it in a pretty general way. Because I'm not like expert enough to really discuss a lot of these things, but also because I just kind of want to get the conversation started. I don't really desire to get too deep on a lot of stuff. I think a lot of my videos just generally revolve around, like sort of just being a thoughtful person and just encouraging people to think critically and be thoughtful and be compassionate. I think that's the thing that sort of ties all my videos together, or at least that's, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's a good way to put it. I have a video that I'm thinking about doing about American exceptionalism. I also want to do a video about Barack Obama. If you're looking for more specific things, but in general, that's what the videos are about. I do miss your old videos. Any thoughts about revisiting your old videos to see if your views on the subject has changed? That's something that I think I'd love to do, but something I realize on this channel is whenever I deviate from sort of the standard idea of the video essays on this channel, like no one seems to be interested. It always gets like way less views. So maybe that's something I could do during a live stream or something. And also, like, other people have done that before, so yeah, it's not the most original idea, but I'm happy to do it. How will the Dems do in the midterms this November? I have no idea, dude. I keep going back and forth in terms of how I think that's gonna go. At first, I was like, okay, there's no way that the Democrats are gonna like take the House or anything. But then it was like, well, maybe they will. They're gaining a lot of momentum right now. But now after this Kavanaugh thing, you would think that that would make people like annoyed with Republicans, but it seems like it has only strengthened the Republicans. So the whole Kavanaugh thing may have hurt the Democrats, which is sad, but I don't know. I would love to see a skeptical look on things like employers using Myers-Briggs to assess or hire employees. I didn't even know that was the thing that happened. But if there's something, that's another thing too. I definitely want to make videos, but only if there's something that I think is unique and interesting to say about it. Because a lot of things I just don't think are that interesting, or at least there's not that much to say about it. Like, there are some things that I have opinions on, but the thing is, I can express that opinion in like 3 sentences. But then there are other things that I could talk about, but I just feel like they've been discussed to death, and I don't have anything interesting to offer to the conversation, so I just don't do it. Or at least that's how I feel now. I don't know if I always felt that way. Do a ton of Americans really miss the Obama years now? Well, definitely. I think most Americans prefer the Obama years to what's happening right now. But I also think that a lot of Americans are looking at Obama through rose-tinted glasses. But the problem is when you compare anybody to Trump, they look good. People are fondly remembering George W. Bush right now. George W. Bush was a disaster. So that's how bad Trump is. He's just making terrible presidents look like they were great. All right, Lil Quindo, thank you for stopping by, at least for a little bit. High Flow, I think I remember you. Is it true that the only way for Dems to win is to allow for shifting demographics? U.S. becoming less white, older people dying off? No, because I think that most people... more people like Democrats than they like Republicans, or at least more people prefer Democrats than they do Republicans. The thing about it is, most people don't vote, which is very useful to Republicans, and also Republicans cheat. So I think that's the reason that Democrats don't win. And also, Democrats are just generally ineffective. I think that more people agree or prefer their policy than Republican policy, but Democrats are just very, very ineffective at fighting for their policy, and they have historically tried too hard to compromise, and they just don't. They have a less effective strategy than Republicans. And to be fair, part of this is because Republicans literally cheat, and they seem to be sort of amoral, and they just don't give a fuck about being unethical. And I sort of get that, but I think the Democrats could definitely do better on that. But I don't think that the Democrat, because there are tons and tons of white Democrats. Like, don't mistake it. And there's tons of old white Democrats as well. Even like I live in Alabama, and if you go into some of these like wealthy neighborhoods, it's just a bunch of old white fucking liberals, or whatever the fucking non-US equivalent of that. I don't even know what you would call them. Basically like progressive liberals. Like there's just like a bunch of old white people that are literally progressives, even here in Alabama. So they're out there. Is it possible to convince rural working class whites to vote Democrat, or is it a lost cause? Well, I think if they're already voting Republican, it's going to be really hard to convince them not to vote Republican because if they're voting Republican, they're voting against their own best interests. So they're clearly not making a rational decision. So I don't know how you could rationally convince them otherwise. And like I said, the Republicans are much better at even getting people to support them, or they're much better at winning, I should say. And I think part of this is because they're much better at creating narratives that people buy into. And a part of the reason is because these narratives are lies. And the Democrats are less likely to straight up lie to people. So most people are going to believe the lie that confirms their bias than the hard truth, you know? So like if you tell someone that the reason that they're struggling is not because the system is stacked against them, but instead because I don't know, vaguely because of immigrants or Muslims or the gays, and so you give them someone to blame, and you tell them if it weren't for these people, you would be a millionaire. That makes people feel better than if you tell them the truth. I would love to see more videos relating back to your real life. I think the most interesting videos are when you say things like, I used to be this way, I understand, like on bad dating habits. Yeah, I mean, again, that's something that I'm happy to do. I guess the best way for me to do it would be for me to try to find a bigger topic that I can relate to. I think a lot of the things that are, worth talking about, I guess, that honestly, that's one of the reasons why my channel used to be a lot more about relationships and stuff like that, because I have more experience in that area, both in terms of successes and mistakes. And I've also just like studied it a lot and interacted with a lot of people and observed a lot of people. So a lot of this other stuff, I don't necessarily have a lot of firsthand experience, I guess. So it's hard to talk about it in that way. But I think that's one of the reasons why I want to make more videos about like race and racism, because I think my experience as a black man is interesting, because I don't think that there's that many black men making this kind of content on YouTube. So I feel like that would be a lane for me to sort of take in, but I don't want all my videos to be about that. What do you think of Sweden? The politics is unstable. I don't know anything about the politics in Sweden. I keep saying that I'm gonna start paying more attention to international politics, but it's like it's so draining just trying to keep up with American politics. I don't pay much attention to politics, but when you discuss it, it gets on my radar. Well, I mean, I'm definitely not going to stop talking about politics, but I will talk about it to the extent that I feel comfortable, because I never want to be perceived as an expert on anything. And I think that's something that a lot of other YouTubers do, where they talk about things as if their views on it are sort of objectively true, or at least that's sort of I don't know if that's what they are literally doing, but I sort of get that vibe sometimes. And they sort of basically tell other people what they should think, and I don't want to ever do that, really. You're right about conservatives, but I get so frustrated with a good chunk of the left's obsession with ideological purity at the expense of pragmatism, though my conscience mostly sides with them. Yeah. I mean, I guess I think that can be a fair criticism in many cases. I think that, I don't know. I'm just always hesitant when people make that criticism, because a lot of times when you ask for an example, the example is not really an example of that. I don't know. I've gotten to a point where I have like, I definitely have my criticisms of the left, but I am always suspicious of other people's criticisms of the left, because I've heard so many nonsense criticisms of it. I mean, not saying that yours is nonsense, but I'm just like naturally hesitant every time I hear it, even though I probably agree. Have things got worse or better for black people in America over the last 10, 15 years? Over the last 10, 15 years? Probably worse. If you said like over the last 30, 40 years, then I would probably say better. But in the last 10, 15 years, there's been a growing anti-progressive, anti-immigrant, everything that's not white men sentiment, for sure, growing. As far as has like opportunities for black people grown over the last 10, 15 years, I don't know for sure, but probably, because it's just been growing for everybody, I guess. But sort of white identity politics has grown tremendously in the past 10, 15 years, which is basically bad for everybody, but it's definitely bad for black people. Thoughts on Michael Moore, the filmmaker? I don't know. I think that he's kind of he's kind of an alarmist. I don't really pay that much of attention to him. I think that he's just sort of like a left-wing propagandist, which isn't really. I don't know if it's as I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, really. I mean, it's like I generally agree with him on most things, but it's usually, at least from what I've seen, it's not usually the it's just not usually the type of sort of like fact-based analytical discussion that I want when we're talking about these things. And the thing about it is, I don't think that you need to be alarmist and propagandist in order to discuss these issues from a progressive or left-wing perspective. How do you feel about the growing socialist movement in young leftists? I don't know. It makes sense. It's understandable. We'll see where that goes. I think the problem, or a potential problem with that, is there's sort of a growing number of people who, because of their frustration with capitalism, are basically uninterested in, like, participating in the democratic process at all. Like, it's almost like people are waiting for the system to crash, or even hoping for the system to crash, instead of like trying to fix it, or trying to reform it, or trying to participate in it in order to counteract all of the negativity. They just sort of sit back and just hope it crashes. And I think that that's a problem. Your perspective as a black man is definitely very valuable. Honestly, being from the part of the world where there's no black people listening to you really helped me gain some perspective and learn. Well, that's awesome. Where are you from? Do you ever consider doing an advice video for young adults who have social anxiety? I really enjoy your relationship videos. I mean, it could be something. I would have to think of a way to make a video, or a way to sort of relate it in a video that I think would be useful to a lot of people and not just like a small subset of people. I also am not. I'm not completely confident in my ability to do that, I guess. But I mean, like I've said before, I've have a lot of experience in the area of sort of like relationship dynamics, and I've like read a lot about it and stuff. But social anxiety, especially like social anxiety that becomes a disorder, that's something that's like beyond the scope of my expertise. But if it's just like generalized social anxiety, a lot of it is just like willpower, and like doing like, and like just surviving the awkwardness, I guess, and learning to deal with like rejection, and learning to deal with things like that. On a completely unrelated note, what's your take on polyamory, open relationships? I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the stream, but I mean, I'm definitely, I'm like for open relationships, and I prefer open relationships. I think monogamy is kind of weird, for my opinion, but it works for some people, so I can't really bag on it. But I definitely think the way that a lot of people practice monogamy is wacky. But it's fine. I think that in the position I'm in, or at least in the place I'm in, the community I'm in, being okay with monogamy might be necessary for me to even find a relationship. So that's fine. I mean, I'm easygoing enough to where I think I can deal with it. But I think open relationships make more sense. As far as polyamory, I think that different people mean different things when they say polyamory. So it's kind of, it's hard to really comment on. But in general, I'm fine with non-monogamy. I think it makes more sense than monogamy. Do you have an opinion on veganism, not necessarily about vegan people, but as it relates to ethics and the environmental effects? I don't know. I don't have any problem with veganism. I think veganism is fine, and I think it makes sense for a lot of people. Socialists tend to help more in small community matters since they believe the overall system, which is based in capitalism, isn't worth preserving as it perpetuates oppression of the working class. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where there's just sort of uh, they're I don't know, they're willing to suffer like a worldwide catastrophe just so capitalism will die, which to me seems impractical. And they're sort of willing to just let the system of the cycles of oppression continue and not get better and not work on making it any better for like the human beings that are like currently alive. Just so that they can just so we can get rid of capitalism, which by the way I don't think is going to happen, but um which is maybe why I'm so sort of flippant about it. But I don't know if you have kids, but how would you talk to a son or daughter by growing up non-white in America? Do you think black kids need to grow up and lose their innocence, naivety sooner by necessity? Yeah, I mean, definitely. My plan, well, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but if everything went my way, I would not raise a child in this country. It seems cruel to do. But I don't know what's going to happen. But if it were to happen, you definitely need to prepare them for what's going to happen in the world. But I feel like it would be a bad idea to bring a child uh to raise a child in this country. But not everybody, and including me at this point, not everybody has the luxury of like just like leaving whenever they want. So if starting a family is a thing you want to do, then sometimes you just have to do it wherever you're at. Since starting your channel, do you think that trolling online is less? Seems like online forums aren't allowing anonymous posting. Is that causing people to feel more accountable for what they write? Well, anonymous trolling may be less. I don't know if that's true. But I think that people are just bold now. They don't really even care about being anonymous anymore. Because, you know, I think people feel like they can get away with doing and saying whatever they want, even non-anonymously. So you don't even have to be an anonymous troll anymore. You just like literally get on Facebook with your real full name and fucking troll people. And it's especially online. I feel like a lot of these platforms are doing a pretty poor job of holding people accountable for what they say. So I think that's why people do it. Maybe if they started cracking down on stuff like that. And also I think that Trump has a lot to do with it, because I think Trump has emboldened a lot of people to just think that it's okay to just be awful. Because, you know, hey, the president's got my back. But I don't know. I think that I have stopped paying attention to that sort of thing. Like, honestly, these days, I am trying my best to sort of just avoid all of the noise and drama on social media. And so, like, you know, like I don't even read my YouTube comments anymore. Like, I'll read it within like the first 24 hours, but after that I don't read them anymore. I barely look at like I've started to look at my Twitter notifications a little bit more, but for a while I just didn't look at them anymore. And I don't like look at other people's, you know, Twitter stuff. I disabled messages on Facebook. So like when it comes to like online trolls and stuff like that, like I just opted out of it, I guess. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about the state of online trolling, because I just don't keep up. Who is the greatest president in American history? I feel like most people would say Lincoln, right? There's been a lot of talk about YouTube channels and Facebook pages being suspended for content, and people are concerned about free speech and feelings not being hurt. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I'd have to look at each case individually. I know there are some cases where it's people like Alex Jones, and his content is literally just hysteria and like calling for arms against, you know, the globalists and shit like that. And to me, that is ban worthy and has always has been. So I'm okay with that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm not sure exactly what pages are being banned. The problem is a lot of these channels and stuff are like horrendous. Like, they're extremely hateful. They like call out and bully people. And so to me, that seems obviously ban worthy. But we've gotten to a point where people think that any kind of content, just by virtue of it being content, deserves a platform. And I definitely don't agree with that sort of sentiment. What would I do if I met Trump face to face? I don't know. I'd probably walk away. What realms of activism or causes are you most active or interested in that isn't part of your identity? For instance, are you active with TransTube? Well, I'm not really involved in activism at all. I don't really think of myself as an activist. In terms of like consuming content, I watch all kinds of content. I don't have like a specific type of content that I watch. Like I'll watch anything that has something useful to say. I've more recently watched more LGBT type stuff. But I think there's other communities that I need to not get involved in, but just be more aware of and watch more content from. Like for example, I've been trying to watch more disabled YouTubers to see, to get more of a perspective about that sort of thing. Or at least I've been, that's on my agenda. I've watched a couple of them. But when it comes to activism, I don't really consider myself that. The problem with Facebook is that they're banning people who haven't violated standards, but often largest reported by trolls. Oh yeah, like false flagging seems to be a big problem on pretty much every site. But the thing about it is I don't know how how else platforms can identify hateful pages or pages that are violating their terms of service, short of hiring a group, like, hiring a whole nother department at the company and whose only job is finding pages that violate terms of service. But that seems unlikely for a company to do that because they don't really lose money when people violate their terms of service. The only reason that they have a terms of service, I think, is so people feel okay with being on their site. But I don't think that they are, financially incentivized to put a lot of effort into hunting down these pages. So I think that's why they rely so much on reports and flags. Yeah, all these videos in my my watch later list, I think I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't watched it yet. Why though? Why what? But yeah, like I said with the social media thing, I've sort of opted out of that, and I try my best not to be on people's radars. Like I have, this is a sample size of one, but in my experience, like I've never been banned on any platform ever. Never had a video flagged down or anything even close to that. And I think A is because I have generally done a decent job of staying off evil people's radars. And I intend to continue doing that. And also, I just don't make fucking hateful content. And there are even people on the left where I see their videos and they're like, oh man, my video got banned, or I got banned from Twitter. But then you look and see, it's like, oh, they're kind of being a dick. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe they're right, but they're still being a dick and they're still violating the terms of service. Yeah, perhaps they're not enforcing the rules equally, but the rules are still there, you know. Two wrongs don't make a right. Ali is Philosophy Tube on YouTube. The channel is called Philosophy Tube, hosted by a dude named Ali. It's very good. It's if you're interested in progressive philosophy and politics on YouTube, it's a good channel to watch. When do you think speech goes from having an opinion someone doesn't like to being considered hateful, dangerous? Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a broad question. But I mean, a lot of times you can tell, even if something is like potentially hateful and dangerous, you know, that's when it needs to be probably not said. But I think it's usually pretty obvious. Like when you are saying things that are likely to incite widespread disdain or hatred or violence toward a group of people or to a specific person, then that seems pretty clear to me. Like, I think a lot of people say, you know, it's just my opinion, but you can't say stuff like, I think Muslims are dangerous. That's just my opinion. That's not how that works. That's like clearly a hateful statement towards a group of people. Like that's, you know, that's not how that works. You can say something like, I think Muslims are wrong. That's fine. That's not hateful. That's just you saying something that you disagree with. But when you start inciting hatred and fear of a group of people, that's when you start getting into dangerous territory. Why did you decide to grow out your hair, have dreads? Do you have any opinion on the natural hair movement? I didn't really have any like well thought out reason to grow dreads. I just sort of started growing my hair out and eventually it started looking cool. So I was like, I guess I'm going to go with this. It's nothing really deep beyond that. But other than that, I mean, I think it's, I don't really care what other people do with their hair. You know, live your life the way that you want to live it. Do what makes you happy. That's how I feel. Because there's a lot of people that like natural hair and then there's a lot of people that don't do natural hair and they're happy and that's fine. Would you ever consider doing a dialogue discussion with Marina? I like both your content and your views seem to balance each other out well. Sure, I'd be happy to. Just as long as it isn't a debate. I don't do debates. Can you collab with ContraPoints, please? Again, I would love to. I've done a couple of streams with ContraPoints before. Contra seems like she has a very very intense workflow, and it seems like she's very busy a lot of the time. So I don't really bother her. But if she ever wants me to help with the video, I would definitely do it. Am I gonna put my content out as a book? I don't know. I'd like to write a book though. I've been writing a little bit of something, but we'll see what comes of it. Free speech tends to be an argument of convenience. It also seems to be distraction. I think we all agree free speech is important. The details are always debatable. A genre book? Nah. Probably nonfiction. But, and then, I don't know, it's like the question earlier was not, it didn't, I guess, I don't know, maybe that's what it was implying, but the question, I didn't answer it as if, does it count as free speech or should it be protected speech? Like if someone says Muslims are dangerous, I think that's bad, but I don't think it should be illegal to say that. So, you know, there's different levels of what we're talking about. We're talking about what ought we say, and then it's like, what should we be allowed to say? Which that second question is I think is a really, really serious question that has very few answers, or are very few answers where you come up with things that you shouldn't be allowed to say. Just woke up. Well, welcome. What is something you really wanted to do on your channel but haven't been able to do yet? I don't know. There's a... In terms of just like types of content, I don't know. The sky's the limit in terms of ideas. But I would love to make more videos more often, but I think I need more... I think I need more help, I think, to do that before I can do that. Like, I would love to do, like, 2 videos a week or something. Or maybe even go back to 1 video a week. It's possible for me to do that, I think. But it would just be, you know, I just have to, like, work nonstop. Which is, like, what's the point of working for yourself if you never stop working? I mean, I'm kind of being sarcastic, but... part of the reason that I don't have a normal job is because of the lack or less stress involved. And so I don't want to stress myself out making videos. But if I got more help, I think I can make more videos. I've been thinking about trying to do more like narrative type stuff, like scripted narratives. But if I did that, it would probably be on a different channel, I guess. What sort of help? Like, just, you know, writers, editors, cameramen. Probably would need... well, I mean, I guess I could shoot it all here, but I probably would need more space. Things like that. In order for the productivity of the videos to crank out that much. And this is not to say, like, I could definitely, I'm definitely trying to get back into the groove of my work schedule. 'Cause for a while I did not, my computer died, so I didn't have a computer for about a month and a half. And so I couldn't get a lot of work done during that time. And then I just got my computer back maybe like a month or 2 months ago. So I'm getting back into the groove. And I think that I believe I'm the type of person that thinks you could always work a little bit harder. If you aren't where you need to be yet and you want more for yourself, you can always work a little bit harder. And I'm trying to internalize that. But I also, I'm not going to stress myself out trying to do this. But I think that I'm getting back into the groove, and I think the videos should be a little more consistent going forward. But if I had like a team, like a lot of these other YouTube channels do, I could pump out content much more quickly. Like I can make content that is better and just as good, but more often, and that would be great. But we'll see. I don't know. I think that when it comes to YouTube, it's hard to know what works, because when you think of other people in sort of the genre that I'm in, which is sort of like the progressive video essayists, not even just progressive, but just video essayists in general, it's generally, long videos, infrequent long videos. So videos maybe once a month, sometimes twice a month if you're lucky, maybe once a month, sometimes even like once every 2 months. But usually the videos are very high quality, very long, so people are okay with it. And there's been a lot of channels that have thrived on this model. It technically goes against like the rules of YouTube, where you're supposed to pump out videos every day and make these like long videos every day, but a lot of people have been pretty successful doing it. So I mean, maybe I would even hurt myself, hurt my channel if I tried to make videos more often, because people aren't used to it in this genre. So I don't know. Electric Glow Main, thank you for 416. Let me look at your message. Oh shit. Appreciate that, Slither Puff. Hey T1J, are you going to ThinkerCon in Huntsville, Alabama? No, I didn't even know that was the thing. That seems cool though. Maybe I should go. How much is it? Let me see. Oh, it's November 17th. It's like around the corner. It's not that bad. It's $129. Do you think interviews are constructive? Sometimes, especially in the news, it seems more like a chess game. Would I do interviews with people? I don't know. I've never tried to do that. I think that interviewing is a skill, so it's something that I would have to practice. But I don't know. I've never really thought about interviewing people. I think it could be interesting, but I think it's definitely something that is a skill that you work on. So I don't think that I would just come out the gates being good at it. But it's something that I could try. I love the follow me at the start of your videos. Always makes me giggle. Yeah, that's more recent addition. Well, not recent, but it's something I add to my videos not a while back, and I like it. For those who don't know, that is a clip from the video game Oddworld, Abe's Exodus. Or is it Odyssey? I think it's Abe's Exodus. Do you think being cautious of a group of people is racist/sexist? For example, I tend to catch myself being a bit extra alert around men, especially of a nationality that is known for sexual harassment. I don't know. It's a slippery slope with that. I mean, it technically is racist and sexist, but it sort of depends on if you're basing it depends on if you're basing your caution on sort of statistical likelihood or realistic threats, or if you're basing them on stereotypes. Yeah. Like, for example, if you're a woman, there's like a very high statistical chance that you will be sexually harassed and sexually assaulted, unfortunately, in your life. And of course, this doesn't mean that most men, or, you know, that anywhere near a majority of men are likely to do this to you. But it seems justified to be fearful of something like that, just because it's so likely to happen to you. But for example, if you're just a person in the street, the likelihood of you being mugged, for example, is statistically pretty low. And the likelihood of any sort of like random black man, for example, mugging you, maybe it depends on where you are, what town you're in, I'm not sure. It probably does depend on where you are. But so if you're walking down the street and you're afraid that some black dude is going to mug you, that's probably more based on a stereotype than it is on a statistical likelihood. So you just have to really think about your motivations. I think it's a case by case basis. You think globalization is a good or a bad thing? And do you think it's unstoppable? I do think that it's probably inevitable. I think it's mostly good though. So like globalization versus like protectionism and shit like that. Yeah, I feel like it's clearly better. But that sort of topic gets much more complex than I feel equipped to really discuss. Appreciate the comment, Relive Valhalla. But yeah, I think going back to I think when you're just in your day-to-day life, you have to make a lot of snap judgments just to make it through the day. And a lot of times those judgments are based on sort of implicit bias. And I think the best we can do is just be mindful of why you're making the decisions that you're making, and what is the cause of your feelings about certain groups of people? Where did that come from? I think that people see the problem is I think that people I mean like the existence of shitty people, like people are very quick to point out the existence of shitty people, but we are much less likely to acknowledge the existence of good people, but not even just good people, but just normal people that are just living their life. Like we like don't even acknowledge that as a possibility. And I guess it makes sense because it's I actually did a video about negativity bias. It makes more sense to survival to be more aware of negativity than positivity, or at least it did. From an evolutionary standpoint, it does. But like for example, if you'd say, you know what, I'm gonna stop being cautious and I'm just gonna live my life and stop assuming everyone's out to get me. And say you do that, and then one day, something bad happens to you. That might make you feel like it was a bad idea to stop being overly cautious. But that's kind of a fallacy because you've ignored all of the other days that you went through without anything bad happening to you. But we hyper focus on the one time that it did and consider that some sort of statistical some special event when it was one of many events throughout life. And I think a lot of groups, and I can only speak from an American standpoint, but a lot of generally minorities they always become the representative of their entire group. And it doesn't happen as much with white people. Where if someone, like if a minority, like if a Latino guy does something, or if a black dude does something, then that's much more likely to make someone more wary of Latinos in general or black people in general. That doesn't seem to happen as much with white people. When it comes to men, it's hard to talk about that because I think it's a little bit different. Because I think that most people, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that women literally think that most men are likely to hurt them, or that it's likely for men to hurt them. I just think that they just think that caution is the most rational thing to do because the consequences are so high if something does happen. But I mean, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. In Germany, they try to embrace refugees and outsiders because rejection from the local society makes those people more likely to become radical. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you what do you want me to say? I think that's fine. I am in favor of embracing refugees and outsiders, and just humans in general. I'm not in favor of casting aside people because of what group they happen to be a part of. Just broadly against that. Cast aside people who put pineapple on pizza. Damn. I love that that's become such a meme in this generation. When Jay's in favor of embracing Nazi. Damn. Yeah, I guess there's an exception to every rule, huh? Have y'all seen the thing with the pickle pizza? I saw this thing on Facebook. It's a pizza with pickles on it. I don't know about that. That's a bit much. I would never order a pizza with pineapple on it, but if it's there, I'm going to eat it. It's fine. It's still pizza, but I don't know about the pickle pizza. That's a bit much. People put peas on pizza. Now that's the worst thing I've ever heard. I just don't like peas though. Like I like pickles and I like pineapples. And why is it all P words? Why is it all P foods? That's weird. I think people are just trying to be alliterative when they make their pizzas. But I don't really like peas, so that's terrible. They put mayo on pizza. I don't know about that. I mean, it depends on what else is on the pizza, I guess. Because, like, I've had like a BLT pizza, and I think it had mayo on it. But it just tasted like a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? But if it was like a regular pizza with like, like pizza sauce and cheese, and then you put mayo on it, I don't know about that. Which portrait is on the wall, faces outside a camera frame? That's an old self-portrait I did in high school, back when I had a fro. We put banana and curry mix on pizza. Somehow that sounds less bad to me. I like anchovies. Anchovies are fine. Do I play Fortnite? No. I'm not into the battle royale thing. I don't really like the setup of battle royales. And also I'm bad at shooters, so. Also, will you be playing Soul Calibur 6? Maybe. I've been thinking about I'm probably going to start streaming on Twitch. more frequently. I think I'm gonna try to do a weekly Twitch stream in addition to this stream. And mainly I'm probably gonna play fighting games. So I'll probably play Soul Calibur 6. I've been like, because I don't know, for those of you, most of you know me know that I like competitive games, and that's why I like fighting games so much. But I've been playing League of Legends so much, and that game's like really frustrating and hard. And I feel like I've just been wasting my time with it when I should have just been playing games that I'm better at, which is fighting games. So I think I'm going to start playing more fighting games. I re-downloaded Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'm probably going to buy Tekken 7. So I'm just going to start playing fighting games on stream. So if anybody is interested in that, you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheOneJanitor. What is the old fighting game you have the most nostalgia for? Does Melee count? It's not. I mean, I still play it, so I don't know if it even counts as nostalgia. If it's a game that I don't play anymore, probably like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. That game's awesome. Am I a painter? No. I never really thought I never really was very good at painting. I never really liked it that much, but that was like a portrait that I had to do in art class in high school, and it came out okay, so I kept it. I like to draw though, or I historically like to draw. I don't draw that much anymore, although I think I'm gonna get back into it. There's a lot of stuff that I want to get back into. Drawing is one of them. Also fighting games. Do I play Fighters and Tekken on Steam? Yeah, I have Dragon Ball FighterZ on Steam, and I will probably buy Tekken on Steam. I don't have Tekken yet. But yeah, I was playing a whole lot of League of Legends because it's a very competitive game. It's very competitively satisfying. But it's something about the team dynamic in that game that I just don't know how to, like, my brain doesn't know how to overcome. And it sort of makes me feel stupid because I'm usually pretty good at learning how to be decent at things, especially if I put a lot of work into it. But I cannot figure out how to be good at League of Legends. I just do not understand what I'm supposed to be doing in that game. What do you do to motivate or cheer yourself up? I generally don't need to cheer myself up. I'm a generally calm and happy person. In terms of motivation, I think motivation is, well, there's two things. I think that it's very easy to motivate myself, at least just by watching things that are motivating, like, or reading things that are motivating. So like reading stories from, like, motivational stories, or watching lectures from successful people that have ideas about, about the world and things like that. But a lot of times you just watch that and then you don't do anything about it. You just read the article and then you don't do anything about it. So that can be not as helpful as you might think. But I think that motivation as a concept is like, I don't know, it's overrated. Like, it's an overrated concept. Like, if you're sitting around waiting for motivation, you're just doing it wrong. That's not the way you do it. If you need to do something, or if you want to do something, you need to just do it, whether or not you feel like it or not. You don't wait for motivation. Like, that's like, it's like a myth almost. So like, for example, I try to work out, and in fact, I took like a month off from working out just for various reasons. But, you know, a lot of people are like, I need to motivate myself to get up there and go exercise because I know it's a good thing to do. So I'm going to try to motivate myself and, you know, things like that. But the thing about it is you just have to fucking do it. You get up and do it. Even when you don't feel like doing it, you just do it. You know, you don't wait for motivation. You know, things like, you know, like I think writer's block is a good example. It's bullshit. Writer's block is bullshit. You know, if you don't feel motivated to write, you don't feel motivated to create, you don't feel motivated, you do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Just do it. So, if the thing that you're doing is, if it's your work, if that's the thing you're passionate about, you just do it. And the act of doing it motivates you to do it more. You don't wait for initial motivation. So, yeah, the idea of like motivation is like bullshit to me. But that said, I still think it's useful, or at least for me, it's useful to consume stuff that is inspirational. Like I love watching, you know, you made the TED Talk joke, but I love watching TED Talks. I love watching, you know, like I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, if you know who that is. I even like stuff like Tony Robbins, like Brene Brown, like people who just say inspirational things that are really smart, that are successful, and they like give you ideas about life and self-improvement. Like I love consuming stuff like that, and I think it helps keep you in the mind state of productivity and success. But at the end of the day, you just have to get up and do your work. Just fucking do it. Can I add you on Steam so we can play? Yeah, I guess. I'm probably pretty rusty. I just reinstalled the game after not playing for a while. My username is the one janitor. Well, I think I think people talk about writer's block in different ways. But I still think it's bullshit because just write. Just write anything. Oh, if you can only auto combo, then it shouldn't be that hard. Especially now with the internet, I feel like there's no excuse to have writer's block. You can literally type in writing prompts in Google, and there's like literally like endless articles. I think there's an article that's like 1,000 writing prompts. It's like, fuck, dude. Just write anything. If you just get into the groove of writing, you will eventually get to the point where you're writing something good. What are your thoughts on improvisational theater? Improvisational theater. I don't know. It's fine. It's great. It seems like most of the best comedians in the world got their start in improv, so it's obviously worth something. I don't think I could do improv, or I don't know. They say that it's good for people even if that's not their field, because it helps you think on your feet and it helps you like with public speaking and stuff like that. But I don't know about all that. Seems pretty awkward. I think, and I fall into this a lot too, but I think a lot of people don't want to make stuff or don't want to create or don't want to write or don't want to do anything unless it's going to be great. And that's just like the wrong mindset to be in. You have to dump out all of the trash so you can get to the good stuff. I think that's where a lot of writer's block comes in, because they like, yeah, I have that idea, but that's pretty dumb. No, just do it. Just write it. And eventually you'll get into the groove. I don't know how many. I have like a bunch of, well, not on this computer, but on my other hard drive, I have a bunch of Word documents of like videos. Some of the scripts are even finished, like fucking like 12 pages or some shit. And I just didn't make it because it was bad. But sometimes you just got to write it out and get into the groove. Well, sometimes you have to, I don't know. Sometimes you have to finish something and start something new. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm done with this and I'm going to do something new now. I mean, if you like, well, if you're like a novelist for a living, then you probably have editors and stuff too. So that's probably not even as much of a problem there. But if you write, like if you're a blogger or something, or if you write as a hobby, or if you're a YouTuber, or if you do something else, sometimes you just have to just fucking submit the thing that you are unhappy with and start something else. That's just how it goes. You just have to keep writing. I don't know. You guys check out those subreddits and tell me which one's better. I've never used either of them. Pretty much like 100% of my writing is used towards my YouTube videos, so I don't necessarily need writing prompts. I just start writing about things that I might want to make into a video. Or very, very occasionally a blog. I have a blog, for those that don't know, but I use it like maybe once every 3 months. Something like that for research. Peer review makes you keep going back to what you thought was done. So you have peer review though, right? Have you done a video on worker co-ops, and do you think you might do one? No. I don't know. It just depends. I'll do a video on anything if I think there's something interesting for me to say about it. Like a lot of times, it's not really about the topic. It's about if I have something to say about it. That is either A, interesting or unique, or B, hasn't been said a million times already. So it's something to look into, I guess. If you make a living doing anything, would it be this, or are you hoping to be on TED Talks, teach, etc.? Do people get paid to do TED Talks? I don't know. I don't particularly have a lot of. I don't have any experience in like public speaking. I know that a lot of people make a lot of money doing public speaking. So maybe one day that's something I can look into. I don't think I have enough reach where people care about me speaking at this point. I also think I'm pretty bad at public speaking, so that might be something I can work on. I think that my favorite part of the job that I have is writing, and I think if I got a job writing, that would probably be the dream. But I like making videos. I like editing videos. I like being on camera. So, I mean, I enjoy doing it. And I would be happy to make this, to go further with this as a career. Do I ever get tired of the internet or being connected? I don't think I get tired of being connected, but I get tired of the internet all the time because it's like a wasteland or it can be a wasteland of negativity and harassment and anger and all kinds of nonsense and BS and all kinds of stuff. So I definitely get tired of the internet, but the world is so much better because of high-speed internet. I can check the weather at any time of day whenever I want because I can just look on my phone, If I need to look up directions to anywhere in the world, literally, I can do that at any time. If I want to listen to any song ever made, I can do so instantly, right now. I wouldn't trade that in for anything. Real-time translations when you travel abroad. That's pretty cool, yeah. Just like anything that you can think of almost is just at your fingertips. It's a good time to be alive, I think. Honestly, it's not the internet that's the problem. It's social media that's the problem. Social media is just fucked. All the other parts of the internet are okay. Well, not all the other parts, but you know what I mean. In general, the internet's fine, but social media is kind of fucked. It's like, yeah, I know some people that are like, man, I just want to get off the grid. I want to get unconnected. I'm not going to use... I want to just go live in a cabin with no internet. It's like, that sounds miserable. What? Do you consider YouTube a social media platform? Absolutely. 100%. I think the problem is people not being able to tell the difference between real information and something posted by an armchair philosopher scientist. Yeah, I mean, I think that's becoming it's definitely becoming more and more of a problem these days, for sure. And I think that social media is the problem, is what's causing that problem. Social media has sort of given us the impression that everyone's opinion matters equally. Because, you know, like a fucking, like, for example, a climate change expert has a Twitter account and could post about climate change, but also fucking some rando with more followers on Twitter could also tweet the same day that climate change is a hoax. And it's given equal weight on social media. In fact, the person with more followers is given more weight. So I think that is one of the symptoms of the social media problem. Schools have home ec workshop. Should there be a social media class? People lose scholarships and jobs over what they post. So do we need to be more educated on it? I mean, I think that's a good idea. I'd be interested to try that out and see what happens. I think there's definitely more room for practical skills and information to be taught in schools, things that you will actually encounter. I think the problem is that it would be really hard to design a course like that, because social media evolves and changes so super quickly. And the types of people that design courses, I imagine, are not often the types of people that are social media savvy. So I'm not sure. Because honestly, if we're being honest, the people who are the most social media savvy are usually young people that are like not even done with school. So, but maybe you can have just sort of like a general course. But, you know, have you ever seen like just some of those old, you know, sometimes they do like courses on the internet and stuff like that, and you just see this information that's just like, who wrote this? This is dumb. This isn't even right. Like if you find like the Internet for Dummies or some shit, like look at the old like World Wide Web for Dummies book. It's like super cringe. Electric Lomain, thank you for the $5. Have you seen the Boston Dynamics robot videos? Do you think it's scary or something exciting? Are you talking about the robot doing parkour? I think that shit's tight. I don't know why everyone's like scared of robots. It's a fucking robot, dude. Like, can you imagine how useful robots will be once we perfect that technology? People have watched too many movies. Like, making a thing that you can program to do something, that's really cool. That's a far cry from creating an AI that's going to become self-aware and take over the human race. Like, it's like not even in the same field. I think we ought to have a media literacy course set for schools just as a given part of any first language learning set of courses. Well, I think a lot of that is just critical thinking. And critical thinking is taught sometimes, but I don't think it's like a required course in a lot of schools. Like, I think broadly that's just critical thinking in general, learning how to parse information and tell truth from fact. Like, that's just basic critical thinking skills. I think I took not well, I didn't take a critical thinking class in high school. I took like a it's like a reading skills or something. I forgot what it's called, but it's something like that. And then I think that philosophy, basic philosophy might be useful to make basic philosophy a required class. Um at least for like in at least maybe in college as part of like most majors, because if you take philosophy you have to take logic, and you learn about how to form arguments and how to understand arguments and how to tell when someone's using a fallacy and things like that. And I think that would be useful as well. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave in about 5 minutes. We are rapidly approaching the 2-hour mark. So if you've got if you got like one more question or comment to make, you can go ahead and throw it in. Maybe we can get some of them in. Yeah, I took philosophy in college, and it was like transformative for me. I think it's part of why I think too much about things even today. And logic, I took logic. Logic was the first class that they made me take as part of a philosophy course. Like, I think philosophy like 101 or 100 or something was logic. And that was like my favorite class ever. I loved it. All right, Electra Lomain, thanks for coming to the stream. As always, thank you for the donations. But yeah, because I briefly majored in philosophy, so I took many philosophy courses, and the first one, literally the first one we had to take was logic, and it was awesome. I like literally made straight 100s in that class because I liked it so much, and I think it was easy, but it was definitely like was very connected and engaged with it because it just appealed to me. It's like, yes, I like when things make sense. I like when things add up. Logic. Thanks for coming to the stream, guys. Have you ever read any continental philosophy? I don't think so. I should have a video coming out pretty soon. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. If you have Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. I'm very close to 10,000 Twitter followers, so that's going to be another milestone for me. Like, I had the one video reach 1 million views, which is a good milestone, and then I reached 100,000 subscribers, which is a big milestone, and now I'm about to reach 10,000 Twitter followers. So it's been an era of milestones for T1J, so that's pretty awesome. And as always, if you would like to support this channel, support this live stream, support me, and make everything more sustainable and help me achieve my goals, please consider donating a dollar a month or more on Patreon, patreon.com/theonejanitor. You can check out all the links in the description. Does Twitter give out trophies for hitting those milestones? I don't think so. But that's fine. I think YouTube is the only one that does that. Speaking of which, I'm waiting on my plaque. The way it works is when you hit 100,000 subscribers, you kind of have to wait for them to tell you, hey, you can redeem your plaque now. And they haven't told me that yet. I want it. I probably will put it, in the background of my set like everyone else does on YouTube. But that's pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited about it. I forgot that there's a lot of Europeans. Everyone's saying good night. It's afternoon here, but good night to you guys. Anything else I need to say? I guess that's it. Just check out the description. There's a lot of links in there for ways that you can keep up with me. Feel free to email me if you want to talk to me anytime. You can email me or tweet at me. Those are the best ways to talk to me, I think. But I guess that's it. I will see you guys next week, and I'll have a video coming out pretty soon. Bye.